Welcome to Animal Posse, the podcast dedicated to the people and rescues making a difference in the lives of animals. Hey everyone, welcome back to Animal Posse. If you've spent even 5 minutes on the internet over the last few years, you already know today's guest. He's a content creator, a #1 New York Times bestselling author, and the human half of a viral phenomenon that literally dictated the daily collective mood of millions of people around the world. I am talking about Jonathan Graziano, the brilliant mind behind the legendary Bones or No Bones videos starring his deeply missed iconic pug, Noodle. When Noodle passed away, he left behind a massive legacy of joy, comfort, and connection. But as any animal lover knows, the story doesn't end with loss. Today, Jonathan is continuing to honor Noodle's memory while navigating life with his rescue pug, Milton. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi,
How are
I'm
you?
doing so well. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited to speak with you today.
Of course, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Before we get rolling, I was thinking about the scope of your journey. And honestly,
Okay.
today, I really would like to talk about how pets fundamentally shape who we are,
Sure.
what it's really like to open your heart to a new animal after a profound loss, and how those experiences inspired your new book, Milton Makes a Move. I'm looking forward to exploring the lessons our animals teach us and the stories that stay with us long after they've changed our lives.
Sounds great to me.
To start, I would like to focus on the word routine because I know
Okay.
there's millions of us, and you and Noodle were our daily routine. Before it belonged to the internet and it was just the two of you, what did that mean to you in the early days of bringing Noodle home?
It was so necessary in retrospect. It feels like I just jumped off a deep end when I adopted Noodle because I was 26. I was living in New York City. I had a job where I could bring a dog to work with me, and I was ready to have this kind of companionship. I knew I loved dogs. I always grew up with a dog. I always loved dogs. But what I didn't know is how important and necessary it was for me to have something else that I had to care about before me. I can be so naturally selfish and indulgent of my time, and I'm very precious of my time. And then, and I'm such a creature of habit. I like my routine. I like getting comfortable. And Noodle broke out of all of that. He got me out of my comfort zone. I had to prioritize him over myself. And that helped me build a much healthier relationship with myself and with my own time. But I got to do it by getting to take care of this incredibly special little dog.
When Noodle first came into your life, how did you come about finding Noodle?
Okay, this is actually quite a fun story. So I was working at a company called BarkBox at the time, which you might be very familiar with. But they did a comedy show. So once a month, they did something called an open bark night. It was an absolute blast. It was a fever dream of a time. It was a comedy night where people would come and they could bring their dogs. So it was in this beautiful office in Chinatown in New York City, and we'd get a room full of people with their dogs to watch a comedy show where we'd have 4 or 5 comics, and there'd be wine and pizza, and we'd all go and we'd do sets. And usually we'd talk about dogs. Didn't have to, but it was pretty much what everyone did. And the very first one that I did, the very first one of these that I did a comedy set, I did a 10-minute little, so I do some stand up. I did a set about how I had just met Doug the pug. I had just met Doug the pug the week prior. And this was like 2015, 2016, the BuzzFeed era, early Doug the pug. And it was so amazing. I did this whole bit about the experience and the wild way that I went about meeting him. And there was a woman at the show. Just came to the show and she was fostering Noodle. And she came up to me afterwards and she just had a picture of him. And he was this, oh my God, he was so big. When I adopted him, he was like 30 pounds. This big pug sitting on the front seat. It was one of those things where it was so cute, but it was like, oh, this is so wrong. He was sitting on the front seat of a car on an IKEA shopping bag. And he just had this expression on his face. And I absolutely fell in love with this dog. And she just told me he needed a home. And that was really the only details I got. I never met him. We never did a meet and greet or anything. She showed up. I said yes, and she drove to my apartment that weekend, and I got Noodle.
Wow, that's a great story. That really is. Just
Wild story.
yeah, and then the seeing him and just knowing that he was meant for you, that's amazing.
My God. I did. It's very much, I try and shy a little more away from the expression, but I really do believe very much like the wand chooses the wizard in that kind of way, where there's so many dogs out there and every dog is the perfect dog. Do you know what I mean? Like every
Right.
dog I've met, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the perfect dog. So when a dog like Noodle so out of the blue just fell into my lap and I was just given the option, do you want to take this dog home without looking for him? It just came to me, and it was one of those instances where I was like, "I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I think I have to do this. This is something I think I must do." And I had help, and it was you know, one of the scariest, but the best thing I ever did. It was one of the scariest things I ever did, but it's one of the best things I ever did.
I know pugs are known for their massive personalities. So, tell us the difference between Noodle and then now Milton.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's night and day. I like to think people always, anyone who comes over says that Milton is my reward for Noodle. Anyone who comes over, people tell me Milton is my reward for Noodle because what we got to show this a little bit towards the end, but Noodle had a big personality. And I got to show that when he got much older and we stopped doing the bones and no bones as much, mostly because he started a daily prednisone and it was a Bones Day all the time. He was very vocal. Noodle was very vocal. He liked to know where I was at all times. If the doorbell rang, he was such a dog. Where if a delivery guy came by, he'd chase after him, he'd bark after him. If we were at the office and one of the maintenance guys came by and Noodle had a problem with him, he'd chase after him, barking. He was this little toothless pug. He wasn't ever much of a threat, but he was so bossy, and that's what we loved about him. Every dog is so special, and he was a riot at this office. He was a riot. It would be perfectly silent, everyone would be working, and then someone would stand up, and it would disturb Noodle, and he would squawk, and everyone would crack up. He was a king. He was an absolute king, and he ruled with an iron fist. So when he got famous on social media, very few people I knew were surprised. They were like, "Yeah, I've never met a dog like Noodle before." He really is a one of one. And then Milton's such a sweetheart. He's so quiet. They were both such wonderful companions in such different ways. Noodle was my ride or die in the way that his big personality matched my big personality. So I always had to keep up with Noodle and what he wanted. And as he got older, I did this really fun series where he knew at 9 o'clock every single morning, he would get a cheese ball with a gabapentin in it. It was his daily pill that he would get. And he knew if it was 9 o'clock and he did not get that pill, he started to bark. And I started filming that for people because it was just, again, it was another really funny thing. I know I'm a little all over the place. Forgive me. I'm reminiscing, but I'll never forget when Noodle first really took off on social media. It was just, I really just shared this dog doing his bones or no bones in the morning. I didn't show him in all of his grandeur and the way that he had this big, huge personality. And he got all those comments where people kept commenting and be like, oh my gosh, he's so sweet and he's so quiet. I wonder what his bark even sounds like if he has one. And my friend Chris took a screenshot and sent it to me. He texted me and he just went, when are you going to tell them? It's like, when are you going to tell them that this dog is huge personality and everyone loved that about him? And Milton is just chill as can be. And so we'll go to events where there'll be little kids and with Noodle having passed, these kids will be really small. And I'll go and I'll read the Noodle books to them, but I'll have Milton with me. And sometimes they'll be like, is that Noodle? And I'll look at the teachers and they'll just kind of either nod or shake their head. And if they nod their head, I'll be like, yes, this is him. Sure. And we're slowly we're really rebuilding his reputation in public.
Would you consider him your soul dog?
Gosh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know. I don't know, and I really do believe that some people find that. These relationships that I've had with both of these dogs have been so unique. I hesitate to use the term soul dog because I don't want to weigh one of my pet's relationships over the other. in the way that Noodle was so special. And I had him for so much longer than I've had Milton. And Noodle changed my life 100 different ways. But anyone who works in animal rescue or who has lost a pet before and has found another one, I think a lot of times, a lot of them also realize that bond can be just as special. It's just very different. I will never have a dog like Noodle. I will never, ever have another dog like Noodle because he really was one of one. But Milton's really he's much more like what you expect from a pug in a lot of ways, but I'll never have another dog like Milton either. His little oddities, the little things that these dogs do that set them apart from each other. It's hard to subscribe specifically to the term soul dog and not to put too much thought into it, but I have thought about this a lot because I got that comment a lot. I saw people comment that all the time. And Noodle was such an incredibly special dog, and I've got his paw print tattooed on me. I see it every day. I think about him every day. He's on my mantle. I hope that I have so much time with Milton still that I get to form a similar kind of bond.
I understand that definitely, and I get
Yeah.
the whole one of a kind thing too because, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I've had that except instead of a dog, mine was with a cat.
Yeah.
How did you know when it was ready to move on and get Milton?
Another one of those leaps of faith. But one thing that I did that really helped me was I fostered. After Noodle passed, I took a little break. And then I knew it's that weird feeling of I wanted to take care of a dog because that doesn't go away. There's a couple of weeks after an event like that where you're grateful for some time to yourself. But that feeling that you want to take care of a dog doesn't go away. The frustrating part is there's just a very specific dog you want to take care of. You just can't do that anymore. So fostering was a way that I was able to scratch that itch of taking care of a dog. And it was a win. I always like finding situations that are sort of win-wins where I knew I had this big social platform and I could help these dogs find great homes. I could help amplify some of the messages of these rescues and of these adoption agencies, whatever they might be. And I would get a dog to care for again. I would get to figure out this little pet and see what I was ready for. So that's really what let me know that I was ready as I fostered dogs and I loved every single one of them. And it really is hard to let them go and to have them go off to their other homes. But I knew I was ready when I got these other dogs and I was heartbroken when they left. That's when I knew I was ready. And Milton was my fifth foster. Milton was my fifth foster dog. And he just fit so perfectly in my lifestyle. And he was the most nervous out of all my fosters. All my other fosters really were fine. They showed up and they were like, awesome, this looks like a great place. I can get comfortable here. Milton was really nervous and really anxious. So he was my foster that I really watched come out of his shell with me. And he started to sleep in Noodle's little spot. Our second book is called Noodle Conquers Comfy Mountain because Noodle liked to sleep on the back of the couch, and we called that Comfy Mountain with a big indent. And that's where Milton started to sleep. I just turned the corner one day and he was there, and I saw a pug in Noodle's spot again, and I just had a very weird, very special moment of just, oh my gosh, I miss this so much. And I just knew he just fit so well with my lifestyle and my activity level, and I just knew. But there's also never a time where you're like, awesome, 100% I'm ready. It's a leap every time. It's a leap.
Absolutely. And I love this hearing the story about you fostering him too, knowing that he was such a nervous and anxious dog. Because
Yeah.
a lot of the times people want to overlook pets like that. They don't want to give
Mhm.
them a chance, and they can really turn around in the right environment and be the most wonderful pet ever.
Oh my gosh, to watch your pet or your foster, whomever, come out of their shell, to watch them stop being scared, like to know, to have that knowledge of knowing that they're safe, even if they don't know it yet, to just know that every single hour that goes by, they're going to feel a little more familiar and they're going to get a little more comfortable. And oh, he's letting me pick him up right now. Never had any trouble eating. That was never a problem for him. But oh, he looks like he wants to get on the couch with me. Like he's sitting. I remember I was taking Noodle never did this. Noodle absolutely never did this. He had no, if I came to him, I came to Noodle. He squawked and I found him. But I got in the shower. I was in the shower and I opened the door to get out and I didn't see him, but he was sitting right next to the shower. It was a little one of those door shower. And he was sitting right there and I couldn't get the door open. I couldn't figure out why. And Milton had just wedged himself right out next to that. And one day he just started sitting out of the shower because he wanted to know where I was. And it was just like the most special moment of just feeling, oh my gosh, this dog whose life is a bit of a mystery to me, but I know he got out of a bad situation, is starting to feel comfortable again. And there's few things I can think of that are more fulfilling, especially after a significant pet loss. Few things are more fulfilling than getting to have those feelings again, to be reminded that you can have those feelings again about another pet, about wanting to take care of a pet, being excited about them having something.
Noodle and Milton both came to you as adults. So,
Yes.
do you think you missed out on that puppy phase?
Oh, for sure. I for sure did it. My 2 fosters that I actually had, the very first fosters that I had were 2 puppies. I had 2 pug puppies. Oh, Macaroni and Rigatoni. Oh my gosh, they were so sweet. I got Macaroni a boat though. We got so many applications for them, and they are both living with the most incredible family. That's the other thing about fostering. Like, it's just the most amazing thing. Macaroni and Rigatoni are so lucky. All of my fosters are. I did think Milton was a little younger than he turned out to be, but he's the most special man, and I wouldn't change anything about him. First of all, there's something very satisfying for me, about taking in a pet that I know is quote unquote less desirable than others. Because I understand that people want to have as much time as possible with these little pets, and I totally understand that. But just knowing what I do know about rescues and fostering and how necessary that is, it made adopting and knowing I wanted to adopt a lot easier. And as far as them just being adults, like, it would be so nice to obviously have more time with him and knowing that I could have him as a little puppy and knowing that I could have him be so super familiar with my family and my friends for his whole life. I would absolutely love that. And this is what I think helped to get Noodle. I think this is something that people really liked about Noodle, or at least really liked about my relationship with Noodle and still my relationship with Milton. It's so funny to not know the history of these dogs and then or these cats or your pets, whomever, and then to know their behaviors and just think, what led to this? Like Noodle, that's what made Noodle so funny is he had this incredibly loud, bossy, perfect, silly personality. And our joke was our running joke with all of our friends and even online was that Noodle went to war in the 70s. Like we had this whole running joke that Noodle was this 800-year-old Lovecraftian entity that was just trapped in a pug body. And he had this long-winded history. In the new book, there's this really funny section where Milton, to address the Noodle situation, there's a page where Milton looks at a Noodle wall where it shows his past adventures and it shows him like jumping out of an airplane and being chased by a dinosaur and stuff like that. And it was so fun to get to make up these adventures that Noodle had because we had no proof that they didn't happen. It was a fantasy, but we got to play that up. And I think that's so fun about rescues and getting older dogs. And the same with Milton is I just have this old dog now who's very particular about specific things. And it is just such a hoot to be a dog who's already very set in their ways and you're adopting a dog that's already pre-programmed. And Noodle showed up day one and went, oh, I know what a couch is, I know what a bed is, and I know what a fridge is. I'm going to be just fine here. In day one, he slept in the bed because he refused otherwise. Not because I thought I wasn't supposed to put him in the bed right away. I thought he was supposed to decompress in a crate. This dog had other ideas. And there was something so funny about that.
Yeah, that it's great. And I love to hear too that you're an advocate for adopting the adult animals because a lot of people overlook them all the time for the puppies and the
Yeah.
kittens. And I'm a cat
Yeah.
rescuer. I specialize in doing bottle babies. Kittens are
I
cute,
mean,
not gonna lie, but I really think kittens are overrated.
there's so much work.
They
There's
are.
so much work.
They
Oh my
are.
gosh. I loved those puppies. Don't get me wrong. I loved those puppies. And I had one of those key proof pads that I put over my carpet. Roll that carpet up, burn it, bury it, and salt the ground around it. It was so soiled after those puppies.
Right?
There's chaos.
Yeah, they're
There's
so
chaos.
messy.
The messes, and it's a joy because they're little puppies. They're adorable, but the nibbling, Oh my gosh, the wounds that I still have from those little razor, little shark teeth. Oh, sweet little dogs. I love them. But there's so many dogs that have already lived a little life or they've lived a lot of life and they just need a soft place to land. And I'm also recognize that I'm in a very unique situation having the platform that I do because I am able, and aside from that, I have a full time job. So I know I'm able to take care of medical bills if they come up. And I know that's a big concern with older dogs is knowing there's possibly going to be more expensive vet bills. But again, I just found that if you get insurance and you prepare the right way, it really is such a special thing to take in an older animal. I actually adopted 2 cats as well. I don't know where they came from. You know how it is with cats. I had 1, and then before I knew it, there was a second. But it's the same thing where Nutmeg was from the street. She was just a little street kitty, and I walked into the Verona Street Animal Shelter, and I saw this thin, little, dirty little cat. And she came and she sat on my lap and she just went to sleep. And I said, all right, she's gonna never know discomfort a day in her life ever again. And she's currently out on her catio, which I will never get her out of. And it's a joy to know that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's like you said too, you don't know what their past was, and they have all these little quirks that are just so enjoyable.
Yeah. You get to learn about them in a way that is, especially if they're decompressing or they came from a really, whatever their environment was. It's so fun to sort of, they introduce themselves to you. Whereas with a puppy, you very much grow with them and you train them and you help shape them and they get into habits early. This is really fun because you're met with whatever their personality is and whatever you get, however they show up is what you get. And there is something so uniquely, it's redundant to say, but uniquely special about that relationship.
Yeah, and that actually kind of leads perfectly into your new children's book, Milton Makes a Move. Because in the book, we
Mm.
see Milton's packing up his tiny suitcase. He's feeling
His
anxious
sweet
about
little suitcase. Oh my God, his sweet little suitcase.
But he's feeling anxious about going to his forever home, and then
Yeah.
he discovers that you are his new human, and you're nervous too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I always try and pick, whenever I write these books, I always try and pick a theme that both I think that I relate to and that I also think is something pretty root fundamental to a child's development. What is a feeling that you have as a child and an adult, but maybe you don't have the language for as a child just yet? And I've never been a fan of change. I've never liked change. I get very comfortable. And again, this is where we go back to what was so important about adopting Noodle is that I can get very complacent in my comfort and having a dog and knowing he's got to eat, he's got to walk, he's got to go to the vet, he's got to XYZ. It keeps you on your toes and it's so important. And this book is so special because I was going through such a difficult time when I adopted Milton because it oddly feels like a betrayal. And I think a lot of people will understand what I'm talking about. That idea of just saying, no, making a decision to take in another dog. No, I'm ready to move on. It's a very odd feeling to have another dog in your home permanently and to just have that acknowledgement of, I'm in this next permanent phase. This is my next dog. So I was nervous enough to adopt and I couldn't even imagine how nervous he was. So I wanted to write a little book about bravery because it took me a lot of bravery to handle everything that happened with Noodle and then be ready to take this next chance. And then it's so brave of Milton to take that flight to go to a new place, to still be sweet and gentle as he is. I was so grateful to have the opportunity to write a story about his journey coming to live with me and my journey welcoming him into my home in a way that is, you know, as we're talking about books, a very much a next chapter sort of thing.
Yes, I love too that you highlighted also that human side of the anxiety because
Mhm.
rescues always think about the person is coming to adopt the pet. They're worried about the pet fitting into the home. The pet's going to be anxious. And a lot of times they don't
Mhm.
realize too that the person is just as anxious.
Absolutely. For whatever reason it might be. With your first time fostering, it's again, you lost your beloved dog and you're trying something new, or You're just scared that they're not gonna be happy, or you're scared it's whatever it might be. I think it's really important to also acknowledge that bravery is being scared and just doing it anyway. And I'm very afraid to fly. I don't like to fly. And my friend Kaylin talked me off a cliff one day by just explaining you just being brave is not doesn't mean that you're not scared. It just means that you've decided that you want to do it anyway. And that's what adopting a dog is. And that's what Milton had to be so brave to go through everything he did. And again, still come out of it with a loving, happy dog. So I wanted to write something very big that I think a kid on a very macro or micro level would be able to understand.
Why was it important for you to write this specifically for kids and families who might be welcoming a rescue pet?
So obviously, I hope this resonates with people bringing in rescue pets because I want them to know that there's an acclimation period, that it's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to be nervous about this. It's okay to be scared when you're doing something new. When you're rescuing a new pet, when you're welcoming a new pet in your home, whether you're fostering them or you've rescued them and you've adopted them. But I'm also hoping that with some of the examples in the story about a thunderstorm happening and Milton getting scared, and then also Milton realizing that I'm also kind of scared because I've never liked thunderstorms as Jonathan the person. I wanted to add a couple of elements in there so that these kids or any kids reading it would be able to maybe recognize that, okay, yes, it could be about rescuing a pet, but it could also be just about moving to a new place, right? Maybe they see themselves as the Milton character on they're excited to try something new, but they're still scared, or they're starting a new school, or they're meeting new people. Like this idea that being scared and taking care of yourself and knowing your limits is one thing, but there's also a lot to be had if you just are brave and you try something, you might actually really like it.
Jonathan, thank you so much for being here and being so open about the messy, beautiful journey of love, loss, and moving forward. Milton is incredibly lucky to have you, along with your two
Thank
rescue
you.
cats.
Oh my gosh, I can I tell you, I just picked a crusty out of his eye as you said that. I just was like, "What is that?" And I came back with a goop. He is so lucky to have me. But thank you. I so appreciate you having me on to talk. Brevity is not a gift of mine, but I'm so passionate about this. And I still pinch myself knowing that I'm in this position where I get to not only write a book, but I have this platform. And it's still mind boggling to me. But I so appreciate getting the opportunity to chat with you about this and to talk about this upcoming book. And just, I have to shout out the illustrator, Dan Tavis. It's almost writing a children's book has become such an interesting exercise because I've learned writing it for the kids are going to look at the pictures, but writing it for the illustrator is really interesting to consider. He did such a marvelous job. And I'm so proud of this book and the story of it. And I can't wait to get it out there. And thank you again so much for having me on to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. And we are so grateful that you keep sharing your world with us.
It's a privilege. It's a sincere privilege.
Everyone, please make sure you go grab your copy of Milton Makes a Move. It's the perfect addition to any animal loving household. You can also follow Jonathan and Milton's adventures on TikTok and Instagram. To everyone listening at home, if you're currently navigating the loss of a pet or if you're sitting on the fence about whether your heart is ready to rescue again, give yourself some grace. The love they leave behind is meant to be passed on. If you love this episode, please hit that subscribe button.
That's it for today's episode of Animal Posse. If you love what we're doing, please consider becoming a member. Your support directly helps us continue highlighting the people and stories that save lives across the country. Just a quick reminder, the views and opinions expressed by our guests are theirs alone and are provided for entertainment purposes. They don't necessarily reflect the official position of the show, and this information should never replace the advice of your own veterinarian. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.